So, consumer VR traction is slower than many had initially anticipated, but it's still finding small wins and moderate growth. But there are still lots of questions like who's using it, and what are their motivations, and what experiences resonate most. So, we set out for answers, working closely with Thrive Analytics. Artillery Intelligence authored questions to be fielded through its established survey engine to more than 52,000 US adults. And the result is Wave 8 of the research and a narrative report that we published to unpack the results. So what did we find out? First, 25% of respondents have used or own a VR headset, which is the same amount reported in the previous wave, and congruent with other market evidence of relatively slow VR growth over the last year. But on a positive note, users are engaging often, so 80% do so monthly or more. And this is key for VR given that adoption barriers can be high with things like setup and orientation. So the name of the game is ease of use and replayability. And we see that continuing to improve with the growth in standalone headsets like Meta Quest 3. Now, users also report high satisfaction with VR, especially with headsets that have simpler setup and less activation energy, and that's going to continue to be a key design target for VR. As for other adoption drivers, the standout in this year's forecast was again Meta Quest. So all variants and generations of the device together represent 57% of usage, up from 48% in the previous wave. And this aligns with the live market evidence we're separately tracking from Meta's VR consumer traction. And a lot of this has to do with Meta's investments in VR. So the subsidized entry price alone is an attractive factor given that Meta is trading margins for market share, as we like to say, and they're intent on building a network effect and getting the VR flywheel spinning, which is classic Meta. But the practical outcome is that consumers get a device that's cheaper than it should be, and that will continue to drive sales and Meta's leading market share. But to give some credit to headsets outside of Meta, we're seeing high satisfaction scores for HTC as well as Valve Index. We're also seeing positive momentum in the emerging class of 3 degree of freedom personal entertainment devices, or PEDs, like Vive Flow or Xreal Air 2. Now, these represent a key trend in VR and AR for that matter, of simplifying the use case and doing one thing well. In this case, that one thing is private immersive viewing for 2D content like games and entertainment. And this also stands to reason because the top use case rated in this survey continues to be watching 2D entertainment in a 3D immersive VR private space. And in that sense, users want what they know. So lastly, one thing that keeps popping up wave after wave of this research is that non-VR users report low levels of interest. It's now at about 20%, up from 18% last year. And the disparity between current user satisfaction and non-user disinterest underscores a key challenge for VR. You have to experience it to really get it, and it can't be captured in video or traditional marketing, so it's sort of a chicken and egg dilemma and a marketing challenge for the industry. As we like to say, it's like selling TVs on the radio. So it will take time and acclimation and price reductions for adoption to grow in a sort of slow-moving step function over the next few years. So that just scratches the surface, and you can see more in the full report, including per headset breakdowns and other results. Meanwhile, the high-level takeaway is that VR's growth will be driven by continued downward pricing pressure, focused use cases, more content, and the lowered friction brought by standalone headsets. And all of these factors will collectively push VR forward, but it will be a gradual climb.